Right, so I'm gonna try and describe one of the most profound experiences I've ever had in my life, and this was on mushrooms, right? So it was a little over a year ago. I took 5.3 grams of dried mushrooms, right? At this point, I do need to make you aware I had been away for 5 weeks doing a lot of training and stuff. So when I come back, my body was really really healthy, and I'm not surprised that I got a very, very good done off these mushrooms. Let's say. Anyway, let's get into it. So it started off as normal. I took the 5.3 grams in a cup of coffee. I drank them, and then about 20 minutes later, everything started to kind of. I started to feel the effects. Let's say I started to get my stomach started churning a little bit. And when my eyes were closing, I was definitely getting to see some fractal visions and tracers, and everything was getting a lot brighter and it was getting a lot crisper. So then it gradually it kept going forward, kept getting stronger and stronger and stronger as you'd like, and then maybe about an hour maybe into it, maybe not even as long as that, but definitely after an hour I was totally gone. I was like tripping balls. This was like I took DMT, and this is that I can't even describe how strong this mushroom trip was. So it got to the point where if my eyes were closed or open, it didn't matter. Like I was seeing the same thing whether my eyes were shut or open, you know. And it was very very intense. So I was in my living room. I was on my couch. I had no lights on. I was in complete darkness, and I was listening to some shamanic drumming, and honestly it was crazy. So after about an hour and 10 minutes or hour and 15, I don't who really knows who really takes note of the time when you're on trips. Like I don't really, but I just kind of feel like time goes so slow when you're on trips. But anyway, so I was in this trip. I was totally full blown tripping hard, tripping balls, like as much as I've ever tripped in my life. And it's basically it was like my living room just changed into like I was like I don't it's really hard to describe it, but I was just watching like blocks, bricks moving and building stuff, and then there was like I was lying on my couch, and it was kind of like there was a production line of beings just moving up as if they were all carrying a brick. It was kind of like I was watching the pyramids getting built. I felt like I was watching the building blocks of civilization happening. And I was kind of blown away at this point. I was like, holy shit, what is going on here? Anyway, it kept getting stronger, stronger, and stronger. And I'm not going to tell you what point this was. I don't remember. But at some point, it ended up. I was getting walked up to what I can only describe as the pearly gates. Except it like wasn't St. Peter at the pearly gates. It was more like an Anubis type being that was there, which I've later looked up is the god of the afterlife. So it kind of makes sense a little bit. Anyway, so when I got to the pearly gates, I was then told you're not allowed in because your love is not pure, and which is actually really funny because 4 months later after this trip, I was single from an 11-year relationship. So no doubt that it was probably telling me that something was wrong. So anyway, after I was told that I wasn't allowed in, I kind of just slipped off to the side and I was looking through the fence. As I looked through the fence, I can only describe seeing it. What it was like a black ocean, like completely black, and then I would see what it looked like dolphins, but it wasn't a dolphin. It was more like just a stream of color, but it was moving like a dolphin would if it was to jump out the sea. So what I would see was these two streams of colors jumping out and then intertwining into one, and then off they went, and that was it. And I take that now as I kind of think that there is an afterlife, but in order for you to get through, you need to find your soulmate, and maybe that's why there is talk about reincarnation. It's maybe because you haven't found your soulmate yet. Who knows? This is a theory, and it's come from when I've been taking psychedelics, so I take it with a pinch of salt. Anyway, that's pretty much what happened. There was also another little thing that happened. This was coming towards the end of this same trip, It's really quite weird. It's quite interesting though, because I watch a lot of stuff about space and stuff, and there's this theory about the Big Rip, so which is basically the Big Bang happened, the universe started to expand, and there's a theory that the Big Rip, the theory is that the universe can only expand so much, and then it's going to collapse into one singular point. Well, I actually seen this in this trip. I was at the end of my trip, so it wasn't quite as strong. It was still pretty strong. I was sitting in my kitchen at the table. I was smoking a joint. I was still trying to wrap my head around the whole pearly gate situation. It left me really quite confused for quite a while, and I was actually quite. To be honest, I was quite devastated when I was told that I wasn't allowed in. I thought, I thought like that's me. I'm confined to go to hell for the rest of my days or whatever. It was really quite traumatic to be honest. Anyway, so I'll get back to this big rip. So I was smoking a joint in the kitchen. Like I said, I was coming towards the end of my trip, and then I kind of like put my hand out like this, just like this, and then I seen the whole universe, everything that you ever known, could ever even possibly think of, all get sucked right in, and it ended up I was looking at the whole universe, and it was like the size of a tennis ball in the palm of my hand. So, yeah, that was my most profound experience on psychedelics. Hope you enjoyed the story.